Is this wonky? I'm not having a good day today. Hey guys, so I've been thinking, I just have an idea for like a quick 3-part series. Basically, my friend sent me a link to this TED Talk. I'm going to leave the link in the description box. And in this TED Talk, this doctor was talking about her cousin's experience with vitiligo. So if you don't know what vitiligo is, it's basically when your skin loses melanin. And if you are of a darker complexion, or if you're Asian, or you have an olive skin tone, you will have these white patches that are very obvious on your skin. And in the TED Talk, she was talking about how her cousin became more withdrawn because of her skin, and how she ultimately started acting because she felt that people were looking at her because of her skin. She felt that people would always see her skin before they saw her. So it got me thinking, like, am I the way I am because of my skin? Also, in this TED Talk, she explained that whenever her cousin would go to the doctors would ask if it hurt, if her skin itched, how did her skin feel? But they never asked, how does your skin make you feel? Most people would agree that we feel embarrassed or ashamed or not pretty, but the doctors never really ask you this. They just ask you, what are your symptoms on your skin? So it made me think of a series, and I'm going to call it The Psychology of Skin, because that sounds nice. But suffering with eczema, we are often told stress is a trigger, stress makes your skin worse. But I also said in my eczema video, that is a cycle, because yes, stress can make your skin flare up, but once you're flared up, you are stressed because your skin has flared up. And therefore, you start thinking about your skin, it gets worse, you feel worse, and then your skin gets worse, and then it just never ends. So yeah, that's what I want this mini-series to be, The Psychology of Skin. So what I'm going to start with is my experience from as far back as I can remember, being a child, a kid. My second video will be from like leaving school and up to uni. And my third video will be uni life and after, meaning working life, adult life. So yeah, let's start with part 1, growing up with eczema. Now I have got to watch the time because I've got a TSW meetup to go to and I'm supposed to be there in an hour and I'm still here filming. Okay, so when I was a kid, I was lucky enough that for some strange reason, I did not see myself any different from any other kid. Meaning, I never questioned why my skin looked like this, and I never thought that there was something wrong with me. The only time I realized that I was different is when other people pointed it out. Excuse me. So I think my mum did a good job in telling me that this is just who you are, you know, like there's nothing wrong with you in that sense. So I just went about my life as is. It wasn't until I got into like primary school that the comments started getting to me. I mentioned this before. There was a guy in my primary school called Marcus who pointed out that my knuckles were dry. Now they weren't just dry, they were cracked, they were split, they were awful. And that was when I went home and like I told my mum, this boy said that my knuckles are really dry, and you know what, he's right. And he said that he didn't want to hold hands with me, and they asked like, can you catch it? That's when I started noticing like, oh, so am I the only one that has this problem? Like, does no one else have this? Because it was never a main focus of my life to point out that I was different. At my very young age, I must have got the scientific background of eczema a bit confused in my brain. My mum always said, if anyone asks you if you're contagious, you tell them, no. It's in your blood. They can't catch it. I literally thought eczema was in my blood. Not that she meant it's genetically in my blood. I literally thought it was floating around in my blood. That's how I imagined it. So the fact that kids didn't want to touch my hands because they thought they would catch it, I'm thinking, well, you can't catch it because you don't have my blood. What she meant is that it's hereditary, it's genetic, and it was passed down because of my genetics. Another thing to note is that I believe that teasing and bullying are two different things. I think that Teasing normally happens from people that you know or like and are your friends, whereas bullying kind of happens from someone that's not directly your friend and it's very direct, it's personal, whereas teasing is meant to be as a joke. However, they do come under the same bracket because the end result is that they both make you feel uncomfortable and you feel targeted. So I can say that I was never bullied at school. Thank God, because we've heard some stories about kids getting bullied and it just leads to a whole host of problems later in life. I was never bullied as a kid. Teased, I was definitely teased. That boy, Marcus, I don't think that his was even teasing. I think it was just him being a kid, making an observation and having no filter and just blurting out what he saw. Sometimes you just think, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Don't single people out. Don't point out their flaws, because it just, they know. Trust me. People with eczema, we all know that we have dry skin. We all know that we have scars. We don't need you to tell us that. And if you do tell us that, all it does is it sets us back for that day. And we kind of woke up ready for the day, praying that no one's going to notice. And you've literally just pointed out the one thing I didn't want you to talk about. But do you know what? It really humbles you. And the same kids that love to pick and pinpoint what's wrong with you, like, that's not going to get them anywhere in life, really. To be like really critical of others, it's not going to get them anywhere. One day someone's going to point out something about them that they're not going to like, and they're going to know how it feels, you know. So I don't see having eczema as a bad thing. Yes, it's a struggle, yes, it's a pain, but it really does humble you to some next extent. When I started noticing that my skin was obviously different and people could see it, even when I covered it up, like if I pulled my like sleeves of my jumper down to like cover the backs of my hands, people knew I was doing it. It was very obvious, and people started to pick up on that. And I think that when something is going on in your life that you don't want people to know about, you have one of two options. Well, actually one of three options, okay? Option number one is you pretend like everything's fine. You just carry on and you ignore everything and you don't let it affect you, and you just carry on as if it did not exist. Option number two is what I did, which is become more withdrawn, meaning you notice that people notice your hands, so you hide your hand. You tend not to want to draw attention to yourself, so you become quieter. And you shy away from people. You hang out with only people that you know. You try not to make new friends just in case that they point out these problems that you have. So you just stick to what you know. And of course, option number three is the complete opposite of that, which is to deflect. You deflect from what you don't like and you focus the attention on something else. E.g., becoming the class clown, becoming very loud and extroverted, or the entertainer, something like that. That was definitely not me. I just wanted to hide away. So in that case, growing up, do I think that my eczema shaped me? Hell yeah, it did. I became very quiet. Now, I don't know why, but in society, people think that if you're quiet, there is something wrong with you, you're negative, and it's frowned upon. Not everyone can be a party animal 24/7. When I was growing up, people used to say I was quiet. And I'm going to admit it, I'm awkward as hell. I still don't love meeting new people as much as some people would. But I mean, once I get over the initial 10 minutes of talking, I think I'm fine. But I do get really like worked up. I do have that build up before I meet new people that I feel like, shit, you're going to put your foot in it, you're going to be awkward, you're going to be weird. Don't be weird, Zainab. Focus, be nice. Which is ironic because I'm going to a meetup in an hour and there are going to be some new members there. But I'm not going to lie, before TSW, going to things like this would never be me. I'm going to explain that in later videos, but this whole going out of my way to like meet new people and go by myself, because this isn't something where I can bring a friend. I mean, this is like only TSW people can go to. This is very new for me. If you look at all of my school reports, I don't have them. I wish I still did, but I've moved house so many times. All of my school reports said, Zainab is a lovely, pleasant girl, but she's very quiet. She never puts her hand up in class. She never tries to answer questions. But if we pick on her to answer, she knows the answer. So there is a confidence thing with me. It's like, I know the answer, but I don't want to draw attention to myself and put my hand up. And that was a consistent thing all through school. And it was just like, I did really well in school. I liked school. Well, as much as people like school. But I would dread for a teacher to be like, Zainab, what's the answer to question number 4? Literally, it feels like my heart stops and then I start sweating. Even if I know the answer, I don't know what that is. It's the feeling of the pressure of people turning around to look at you, waiting for your answer. It's like they're waiting for you to mess up. Like, I really hated, would you call that public speaking, or just speaking out in the class? I dreaded it so much. Obviously, as years have gone by, I'd say in the last year, that has changed. Not even gradually, like as I went through like college and then uni and then I got better. No. Definitely within the last year, I've plucked up the courage to speak up, speak out, whatever you want to say. There's a fly in my room. I don't know if you just saw that fly past my eye. Great. As I was growing up, my skin was pretty scarred, and it's quite good to see that my skin isn't as scarred now. Like, scars do fade. You can see the scars on my legs, my arms, my hands, stuff like that. Stuff that I don't have now. So if you're watching this and you're younger than me, or not even younger, if you're watching this and you have scars, just know that over time, the majority of scars will fade. They will. These pictures are taken like 20 years ago. Okay, maybe it took 20 years to fade, but they do fade. And if they don't fade, you learn to accept them. I've shown my hands in previous videos, like here, the backs of my hands are incredibly wrinkly. Up close, you can notice it, but on a day-to-day basis, I don't even think people notice. You're very active in school. We went swimming in primary school, and I remember the first couple times, I just did not want to get undressed. I didn't want to get into a swimming costume because, mate, you're all out in the open. People can see what's going on, and I think the first couple times I was pretty scared, but then it just kind of, people got used to seeing my scars, and I got used to them seeing me how I was. And once you're in the water, you know, you can't really see, but initially the fear of getting undressed was there, and I was only about, I must have been about 10. PE, when we have to wear shorts and t-shirt, I dreaded wearing all that stuff. I hated wearing t-shirts. People take these things for granted so much, wearing t-shirts. And I think this one time I was riding my bike. I remember this so clearly. I was riding my bike up and down the road that I lived on. And this one day I was wearing a t-shirt. Now I got to the top of the road and my mum was coming back from the shop or whatever, and we bumped into each other, and I was like, Mum, I'm wearing a t-shirt today, look. And I showed her my arms, and they were obviously scarred. They were scarred. They were always going to be scarred. But they weren't, there were no open wounds. There was no rashes. It was just scarred, but the skin was smooth. And it's just like, that was the highlight of my day. To wear a t-shirt out in summer. I think it was like the summer holidays. It was like June, July or something. Most summers I would sit there in like cotton long sleeve tops or like cardigans just to cover up. Around this time, the prospect of me having eczema for the rest of my life was beginning to set in. However, like I said, doctors did mention that once you hit puberty, it will disappear, it will go. That was a lie. And do you know what? It would be a great study to find out, if I didn't use the steroid creams in my younger years, would it have just passed? Would I have grown out of it? I will never know this. And that really does suck, because it would have saved a lot of grief. I will never know if I didn't use the steroids. Maybe my eczema would have cleared up when I was 10, 12, 14. I don't know. So yeah. So that is part 1 of this mini-series. I hope the idea of what I'm trying to do appeals to you and you watch part 2, which will be out soon. But yeah, it's just a short, quick video to start this. I'm going to leave the link for the TED Talk in the description box. It was really interesting and it hit home for a lot of like feelings that people with skin conditions have, you know, the psychology of it all. It's more than just skin. But thank you for watching. I've got to rush. If I miss this train, I'm going to be late. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. I think my next video will be an update, my 8-month update. So see you later.